Hey guys, you're back with Steph and Dennis, and today we're talking about our resumes. As you all know, Den and I both work for Big Four professional services firms, myself on the internal side in human capital, and Den external facing as a consultant. Today we're going to be sharing our exact resumes that both got us the jobs that we have at our firms, and we're also going to be sharing our more updated resumes since we did use those ones over 2 years ago and some parts are a little bit outdated. And if you haven't seen our previous video on how to create a great resume for yourself, we'll link that in the description box for you to check out before or after this one. Before we get started, show us some love down below and we'll jump right into it. Okay, so back in 2018, I'd been working as a recruiter for a little bit and I knew I wanted to switch jobs. And when I was applying, I at first was using just a plain resume, Word doc, Times New Roman font, you know the deal, and I was getting nowhere with it. No responses at all or interest. And then I switched it up to this format here, and I had 2 major interviews quite quickly. So that's why I really stand by this template. It has worked well for me in helping my resume stand out, and it's the same one that we have for free on our website, so we'll link that down below for you. Overall, what you can see for my 2018 resume, I obviously have the header with my name, it stands out, all your personal information. I always recommend including your LinkedIn so they can see a little bit more details, so that your resume can be brief. And if they're interested, there'll be a ton more information on your LinkedIn. So I always do a more full LinkedIn, more to the point resume. The qualification section, I think, is the most important part of your resume. It's what's going to show that you have the skills that are listed out on the job description, right? So all of those requirements and things that they're looking for. Mine are now even more tailored and more descriptive. And then I also mentioned if you're working towards getting a designation or you already have a designation of any kind, for me, CHRL is what I was working towards, could be a CPA, whatever it is. I think that's useful to list right off the top as well. Then for me, I got right into my work experience because I thought that was the most relevant to the job. If your education is more relevant than your work experience is yet, then put your education first. But for me, I had a human resources degree. They're going to see that eventually. Obviously, that was good for the role. I thought what was extra special for me is that my work experience related to the job. One tip is that I was applying to a recruitment coordinator position. So I said that my current job was recruitment coordinator. Technically, it was actually talent acquisition specialist, but I changed it up. Those are basically synonymous, and I changed it up so that it really matched the job I was going for. Again, basic thing here, always use these power words to start off your resume. And again, I only have a 1-page resume. So this is the top half of it here. And if I swipe over, this is the bottom half. That's only 1 page. I think that's really important when you're just starting out, especially for entry-level roles. You tend to want to put everything you've ever done on your resume, but recruiters on average only look at a resume for about 7 seconds, I believe. It's not going to be very helpful for them if they have to see all of it. So again, I had my second most relevant role, some other relevant experiences, all related to, pretty much all related to HR, a little bit different here. And then my education at the bottom I also highlighted. Okay, so now let's jump into my more updated resume that I updated last year. Every time I get a new role, I update my resume, and since I switched teams internally and I was applying for a new job, even though it was in my same company, I did do an updated resume for that. So let's jump in. You're gonna see it looks similar. I use the same format because like I said, I really like it. Like I mentioned, my qualifications are obviously a lot more detailed and extensive. I have more specifics of what I've actually used in my current role. And what you'll also see, again, I'll have to switch back and forth between the 2 pages, is that I now removed all of those extracurricular activities I had to only include work experience. So this is my role that I had currently had at the firm, and some more details there. Again, also if you're applying internally, you can include a bit more details about what you've done. And then again, I had 2 more roles, the same ones from before, but I changed up the wording of them. I was no longer applying to a recruitment role, I was applying to a workforce planning role, still within human capital, but a little different. So changing up the wording slightly of the tasks you've done in the past, that's some really important tailoring too, to show that you've done different things that can be transferable and relate to the new role, right? So you shouldn't always be leaving even those old jobs as the same tasks you did. Switch up the wording to make it more relevant to your current job. I also reduced my education, and like I said, as you're getting further away from your schooling days and you're actually gaining more and more work experience, I think it's a good idea that your resume does not have to be cumulative. You don't have to keep adding those work experiences to it. You can be selective now. You can remove things that are no longer as relevant, they're more outdated and not as important, and continue to add on and remove things, not just pile it all up over time. Okay, so that is it for my resume. If you have any questions on it, let us know in the comments below, and I'm gonna pass it over to Den to talk about the resume, the exact resume he used to get his job in Big Four consulting.
Okay, so now that we're in my resume, the first thing that you'll notice is that obviously this is very different from the template that Steph just showed you guys. And since I did get the job, probably wasn't because of the template, so it must have been because of the contents within the actual resume. So first thing that I have here is this skills summary. And this is really great that I even have this because we do get a lot of resumes when we do, resume reviews that don't have this section. And this is pretty similar to Steph's qualification section. The only thing that I want to point out here is it's great that I have this, but I didn't exactly tailor this at the time to the different consulting roles that I was applying to. But one thing that you'll notice that I did do is I did still have key points that were great for the job that I'm currently in now. So for example, if we look at, notable leadership and organizational and public speaking abilities, those are so key when it comes to consulting, right? I'm dealing with clients on the regular. I'm dealing with my coworkers talking about clients on the regular. So you being able to speak is super, super clutch, and you should 100% showcase that right off the bat. If we go down to the professional experiences, first thing you'll notice right off the bat, I've got two big companies. I've got TD Securities and I've got a subsidiary of Brookfield Asset Management, which is Brookfield Renewable, one of the largest energy companies in the world, right? So there's a lot of bias when it comes to companies, but if you have worked for a big bank, showcase that all day, every day, right? Once again, if you look at these roles, financial analyst, right? If you look at these roles, they are tailored specific to the type of advisory and consulting work that my team does, right? So them knowing that I have knowledge of the finance function within an organization, and I've had different experiences where I'm preparing reporting for 30 billion in assets under management, right? Like that's a subtle flex, but you want to make sure that you do show that number. All right, so let's see what else we've got here. So another thing that I want to point out here as we move to the second page, you can see that my resume is just getting longer and longer. And once again, this is something that we always see with people sending in their resumes for us to review. They want to cram everything, which is sort of what I did. Like I didn't necessarily need to have, not necessarily. I did not need to have sales associate at Nordstrom Canada here. Definitely not something that's useful for the recruiter that's looking at my resume. Definitely not something that's useful for the hiring manager that's looking at my resume, right? So that's just something to keep in mind here. But once again, same structure. I'm showcasing a lot of the analysis experience that I have. So when it comes to being a consultant, there's two sides to it. There's the side of, producing the forward-facing documents, so a lot of the decks that you're preparing for clients and external people. But there's also the analysis part that's behind that, where you actually need to know how to prepare the numbers and the information that's going to feed those documents. So something to keep in mind here that I've definitely showcased, and feel free to pause it if you want to see some of the read the points in detail. Okay guys, so last up we've got my newly updated 2020 resume. I'm super happy with this resume. Once again, recently updated, so it is actually a really good time for us to be showcasing this. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that the template is different. The template is the same one that Steph showed you earlier, and it's also the same one that we have on our website, so make sure you check that out. Another thing that you're going to notice is that the education is gone. Not gone completely, but not at the very top of the resume. And the reason that it's not at the very top of the resume is because it's no longer one of the key defining points that I want to come across within this resume. What is really important is for me to showcase right off the bat, my role as a senior consultant at my firm and the actual experience that I've been gaining as a consultant, right? So dialing that back a bit, if we jump up to our qualifications, I think these qualifications have been written beautifully, and the reason I say that is because me and Steph actually looked at a bunch of the different roles that are out there just as an example, and we really did pull on what some of these organizations are looking for. If there's someone who's looking to get into tech, what do we got? Strategy, financial advisory, a mixture of those. These are some of the things that are pretty important to some of these organizations, and we've really curated them pretty well, I'd say. And something else that I want to point out as you're listing out your different points for your jobs, make sure you're highlighting what you did, how you did it, and the impact that it created. That is super, super important and super key. Now, if we go over to the next page, once again, shorter resume. It's only 2 pages, unlike the 3 pages that I had before I even had full-time working experience, which is kind of funny, right? But You'll notice on the second page, I do have one of the roles that I have listed that does, add a bit more, finesse, and it still is relevant to some of the roles that I would be, looking into as a consultant moving forward, right? But you'll notice that these points are much more concise and clear, and our education is at the very bottom. But once again, new resume, super clean, super concise, and yeah, hopefully you guys like it. If you guys have any questions, do let us know down below. Let me know if you have any thoughts, and yeah, let's go. Okay, that's it for this video. We hope that it was useful for you guys, whether you're applying for a job now or whether you're applying for a job in the future. We're hoping that this is a video that you're gonna be able to use to refer back to. That way it can give you that jump start. Oh yeah, and remember, we do have free resume templates on our website along with interview questions that you can use, and they are pretty clutch. We do also wanna mention to you guys that we're still not currently doing free resume reviews. We were doing them before, but it did get a little bit too busy. So we're kind of dialing it back, and once we do open things back up, we will let you know in the community tab, so keep an eye out for that. As usual, if you haven't seen any of our previous videos on careers, make sure you do check them out next door. We will be back later this week on Friday with our investing strategy for 2021 video, so a little bit more details. Let's get it, and yeah, we'll see you soon.